Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a different project in mind. I actually got myself an old car. This is a 1980 Mercedes-Benz 300 SD. That's a w116. It's the last model year. This is a little bit of a weirdo car. It's a US spec car, of course, but it is also a 300 SD, which from 79 and 80, this was a US only diesel option. That means Europe didn't really get a diesel version of this car, but the US did, which is kind of like the opposite of what's going on today. So with that said, this car actually does run and drive, but it does need some things, just like anything that's 41 years old. It needs a few things. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. This car has somewhat of a weird hood latch. You have to reach on both sides. There's no pull like normal Mercedes-Benz that are modern. And there's the OM617. I believe this year it made a whole 119 horsepower. It's a 3-liter 5-cylinder turbo diesel engine. These are known to go like 1,000,000 kilometers plus, so it's like 500,000–600,000 miles. This thing is basically like a German Panther platform, which means that they're unkillable. This vehicle has about 178,000 miles on it, and I think there's plenty left to go. So let's take a look at what's going on under the hood. So when I got this car, the airbox was in the trunk, along with a bunch of parts. Some of this hardware, see, like this is actually shiny hardware. These are M8 by 125. Well, everything was there, and this is just a t-shirt stretched over the actual intake elbow here. And the reason for this is the actual intake bracket as well as the spacers were damaged by the previous owner trying to do the maintenance, and he couldn't figure out where to buy them. I was actually able to source a set of spacers and the intake bracket. We're gonna modify and repair so we can actually get this thing back to a running condition. This engine is a good old girl. The intake, well, I should say the valve cover gasket is a little hard, so it's leaking. It does have a slight fuel leak from one of the injectors over here. I bought new fuel line for that. It does need service, so it's gonna get an oil change. Obviously all new filters, new fuel filters, new primary and secondary fuel filters. This is the high efficiency fuel filter. There's an inline fuel filter down there. And just like any car of this age, this is it's a lot of vacuum lines in this car. There's a lot of vacuum lines. And as far as I know, right now, this car still does hold vacuum, so if it does have leaks, they're small. We're gonna go through it and make sure that this is a running and driving car. I hope one day this thing will be a nice toy to drive around in. Alright, so without further ado, let's get busy repairing the parts and getting this thing put back together. So this is the infamous bracket. This bracket tends to break at this portion. This is the side that mounts towards the engine. So there's a bolt here and 2 bolts here, and this literally mounts onto the engine, and the air filter mounts on top of this. The problem is these brackets, as you notice, this looks like it's almost been cut. It hasn't. It's actually the metal fatigued enough where this ear completely broke off. Excuse me. And being that it broke off, well, obviously I don't have it anymore because it's a 41-year-old sedan. So what I'm gonna do is I picked up this piece of plate. It's galvanized, so hopefully it's not gonna rust. This is also galvanized, and I'm gonna prepare this to just basically bolt it across this so I can recreate the ear that's missing, and hopefully get a functioning bracket after this. The other flaw that this system has is there's rubber isolation mounts for the air filter. The rubber isolation mounts, which by the way, this is the air filter. It's been painted and, well, basically sanded and painted. I did not film this. It's been painted with high engine heat. I'm sure you guys have seen sanding and painting quite a bit. The other, as I was saying, is the other flaw is the rubber isolators on these things, they end up getting cooked with engine heat. And the problem is they fail early. And sometimes I've heard of people placing them once a year, almost like a due course with the oil change. I'm planning on actually, they do sell the cups, but I'm actually planning on making my own cups that basically it's a stainless cup that the isolation mount sits through, and it actually protects it from engine heat. Well, at least that's the idea. Hopefully that allows it to run longer. Regardless, I bought 2 sets of mounts anyway. They were dirt cheap. I'll put a link in the description if anybody wants to buy a set. They're M6x1 on both sides, so you have to buy matching hardware. They usually don't come with the matching hardware. And as I was saying, my car came in with like a bag of parts, so I was missing a lot of the bolts. So I'm missing the M8x125 bolts. Here they're 20 mil long. I was missing a bunch of M6 bolts. I was missing a bunch of M6 nuts. I was missing the acorn nut that goes on top of this. I believe this type of filter doesn't have a wing nut. It's actually an acorn nut. I bought a stainless one. Couple of dollars. I mean, really, it's a M6x1. So you just ratchet it on, it stays there, and you're done. So without further ado, so let's get preparing to this. Let's prepare this the proper length, and we'll cut it, and we'll start shaping it to what we need it to be, and hopefully drilling and tapping it and so on and so forth. So I'll guide you through that as well. Alright, so I marked the proper length here, and Harold's favorite tool, the bandsaw. This is my decrepit old Delta bandsaw. I believe that the TPI count for my blade is a little bit too coarse for material this thin, so we're gonna have to be careful not to make the blade jump too far out. So I'm just clamping it down. Okay, and I guess we'll put, hopefully I have some oil here. What do you know, I'm out of oil. Alright, I guess I will be putting in some Starrett instrument oil then. It's thin stuff. It's a good job. Let's grab our stock, and now I have to put the holes in it. First, we must measure. So I'm going to spot 3 out of the 4 holes that I need, because all 3 of these are actually interference hole, clearance holes. The last one is going to be tapped. So off to the drill press. Well, first we're going to start with the clearance holes. These are the M8 holes, but we're going to start with the clearance 6mm bit. This way I can drill all 3 of them and then enlarge these as I need them. And of course I didn't plug in my drill press. Well, if you don't have one of these deburring tools, you should absolutely get one. These things are awesome. I ended up buying one of these like cheapies on Amazon a couple of years ago, and I'm still on the first blade, and it came with a pack of 10. So that's the beautiful thing about this is, you know, the case is like this. You completely, doesn't matter if deburred steel, stainless, plastics, doesn't matter really. This thing will deburr anything. I don't know what tool steel they use on these blades, but it's pretty darn good. I'll put a link in the description if you guys are interested. I think it was like $10. Can't go wrong. So, a couple of bolts helps align the bracket. Now I go back in the interior of the bracket and I get to mark the center point. Time to take it apart. Again, these bolts are just temporary right now. And now we have the next hole marked out. Should be able to give it a punch. This is my hammer here. Yes, it is. And center this as good as I can. All right. There we go. That has been center punched. So now let me dig out the drill for tapping M6. And I'll be right back. This has been deburred. Some of you guys may recognize this machine. I'll put a link in the description, but this was a collaboration with Harold Waters in Amateur Redneck Workshop. Again, link in the description to his channel as well. So now I managed to actually get my oil filled. So a little bit of straight 30 weight here should do the trick, and hopefully I get a decent tap out of this. The actual tap, my metric taps are not the highest quality taps in the world, so I'm not sure how well these are going to work. It looks like I'm through. Let's see. Let's see if Mr. Bozo has stopped by or not. This is an M6 nut. Very good. Threads in, a little tight. I think I have to chase it again. But I think overall I'm pleased with that. Sweet. There we go. Now time to round the corners. And this part of the bracket is done. I think it's a pretty simple way of resolving this. So, being that this car came in as a kit of parts, the heat shield that goes between the exhaust manifold and the intake elbow, which is plastic, needs a heat shield. And this was actually in the trunk. This takes I found out a couple of M6 nuts, and I have the washers here as well. So. Now I'm going to try to fish the difficult bolt through this intake bracket. These small little things, small little ratchets, they're a lifesaver. Okay, so the back bushing has been fastened in. Now I'm going to do the front one. Front one is threaded already. I'm going to use one of these serrated nuts that will dig in and hopefully prevent it from backing out. Okay, that looks like it's fine here. Let's do the back bushing as well. The back bushing goes here. Same story, serrated nut. But before I do that, a couple of washers to space it up. Tiny bit. So now I remove the t-shirt filter. And I'm going to try to squeeze this thing in here. Okay, so now it's getting dark and you guys can't see a single thing. And that's the intake plenum in there. It's mounted. I still have to tighten the hose clamps and put a new filter in there and give it a cold start. Okay, so it is getting late and it's very cold, but I did get my shop light behind us, and hope you guys can see it. This is the intake plenum over here. Underneath is the intake plenum. This is the air box actually. So, filter. Mally. These guys generally do good stuff. So this airbox actually came with missing hardware. I thought this was a wing nut. Apparently it depends on the model year and so on and so forth. Some of them are M8. This happens to be an M6. Not sure if it was modified or like this from the factory, but it's getting an M6 acorn and a washer if it fits. An M6 acorn means it's a 10mm fastener. So there's a reason for this. These clips, they seal on the outside, which is good because whatever incoming air, this car actually has a factory cold air intake. Whatever incoming air is coming in, it seals against the filter. It doesn't seal in the center though, and you can actually get soot and all kinds of crap coming in. Well, not soot, but dust and so on and so forth coming in through the hole here. So you really should use that. Alright, so now while you guys watch, I'm going to do a very cold start. For a diesel, this is a very cold day. It's 28 degrees here, roughly. About -2 Celsius or so. So let's see if this thing starts. battery's flat, so I guess I'm gonna have to jump it. So I wanted to show you guys my little setup here. I have a little battery pack there that's got a 150 watt inverter that's powering my shop light on a tripod. It's also acting as my jump start box. Let's see if this actually starts the engine. Open. So, not enough power to jumpstart this thing. I probably need to charge the battery up on this car and then try it again tomorrow. Well, today is another day, and with old car problems, the battery was dead and it was no good. So, new battery later. I think this thing is gonna start. Well, there it is. Clickety-clack. That's our diesel. Now to take it for a ride. I took the car out for a quick drive. It drives just fine. It's running pretty decently, but there's still a lot of things that need to be done. There's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done on this car, and I hope you guys will join me on that journey. And please share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.